While exploring Arkansas, I've always been asked, well, what are my favorite places in the state? I'm going to show them to you, my top 10 favorite places in the natural estate, beginning here in the northwest corner in Gentry as we take you through the Wild Wilderness Drive-Through Safari. If you can't go to Africa on a photographic safari, then this is the next best thing. This 5-mile safari route will take you through 180 acres of natural landscape that even looks like Africa. You'll get to experience 85 different species of exotic animals, many of which are free roaming, which means you have a chance to get up close and personal to, say, a bison. Yeah. It's kind of strange feeling having them come up here in the window. And to think that all of this began as a small family dairy farm. Ross Wilmoth Jr. told us the story of his parents' farm.
Late 50s, they operated a dairy, and Dad also had bulldozers. And then in the early 60s, Mom bought Dad a pair of buffalo for Christmas as a Christmas present. And I guess that gave him the fever for wildlife. He always enjoyed chickens or farm animals, but after that he bought him some elk and then more buffalo, and then first thing we know he's getting him a monkey. And then we got some tigers, and in the late 60s he had accumulated so much stuff that the expenses of taking care of them, they decided to open it up to the public. And in the late 60s and right around 70, we had an honor system. He just put a can out there, and if people thought they had a good time, they dropped in a few quarters or dollars or whatever they felt like. And then as it grew, we kind of had to make a commercial business out of it. But they just kept adding animals. Right now, we buy very few animals. We've raised nearly everything here now, and we continue to raise nearly everything we own.
Ross says there's no telling how many animals are on the 180 acres. He estimates between 4,000 and 5,000.
Counting all the little animals, there's several kangaroos, several goats. There's between 4,000 and 5,000 animals here at all times. It's a 24/7 job. We try to take real good care of the animals. You can go any place or ask anybody that knows animals. Our animals are always fat. An old cowman told me one time that you can't starve a dime out of a cow, and these animals are the same way. You've got to take care of them.
On this safari, you'll see almost every kind of animal that you'd find on an actual African safari.
We've basically got everything except an elephant, and here probably starting in October we'll get a lot of college students out of Fayetteville that's in some kind of a photo class or something. But we get it, it's just not grade school or high school. We do a lot with the U of A, as far as their their students coming out. There's always something, needing pictures for a project or something.
Any day is a good day to take the Wild Wilderness Drive-Through Safari since it's open every single day of the year.
everything has to be seen every day. So we're open 365 days a year. We look at the animals first thing every day and last thing every night. We'll drive through or we'll go through and check the monkeys, but with this many animals, there's always something to take care of or something to do.
So what's your favorite or favorites?
Hoof stock.
Yeah.
Hoof stock. I like hoof stock. The black buck antelope will be my favorite animal. They're real athletic and they've got a lot of grace when they're jumping or running. My least favorite's the monkeys. I have a problem with them because they're smarter than me, a lot of them. But, I like hoof stock.
And I like monkeys. Always have, always will. Come see what you like at the Wild Wilderness Drive-Thru Safari in Gentry. Number 9 on our list is War Eagle Mill and War Eagle Bridge, east of Rogers in northwest Arkansas. Coming here is like stepping into the pages of a storybook. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if Tom Sawyer and Huck Finn came walking down this bridge at any moment. Things are still done here the way they were done about 170 years ago. Driving across this old steel bridge is like entering a portal and going into a time warp.
Things are still done the same way. We're still very much a hub of this War Eagle community. It's still a gathering place, it's still a voting election place. We are a central hub just as it was 150 years ago.
What you will find when you visit War Eagle Mill is the pioneering spirit of our forefathers and the millers who ground the grains for the daily table during the 1800s. According to legend, the earliest settlers decided to name this beautiful stream after the son of a Cherokee chief whose name was War Eagle and who died along the riverbank. Sylvanus and Catherine Blackburn founded War Eagle after homesteading 160 acres here in the early 1830s. By 1838, they built the first grist mill.
It operated for 10 years till it washed away in a flood. The mill and the mill dam, which at that time was logs and rocks, every bit of it washed away. It had been very good till Mr. Blackburn, though, so he came in promptly and rebuilt. His second mill lasted until the Civil War, and in 1862, the Confederate Army destroyed it, burned it, to prevent the Union Army from using it. His youngest son, who had been a Confederate soldier, came back after the war in 1873, James Austin Cameron Blackburn. He rebuilt the mill again, the third version. He installed a water turbine instead of a water wheel, and it provided enough additional power that, as well as operating the grist mill, they had a sawmill out. What's our front parking lot today was all part of the sawmill area. And that mill, without any war or floods, lasted 51 years and burned in an accidental fire in 1924.
The current mill, built in 1973, is a reconstruction of the 1873 mill. The milling process itself is not as simple as flipping a switch.
The first thing we do in the morning, once we've reassembled the mill from cleaning it the night before, is we open our water control gate outside in the sluiceway, to allow water in to start rotating the water wheel. We let that run for about 30 minutes to warm up this big belt that comes from our basement. That belt is about 24 feet long, about a foot wide, and it gets, half of it stays in the basement all night and it gets really cold. So we have to warm it up before we try to engage the mill to the water wheel, or the belt will skip and spin and flop and vibrate stuff off the shelf upstairs. So we warm it up every morning for about 30 minutes, and then we engage the hand clutch over there that actually engages the mill to the water wheel. And again, you don't just snap that in, you have to slowly apply pressure and let the mill start turning, and you have to get up almost to operational speed before you can actually snap the clutch in. And then we're ready to go. At least we got power and we've got our mill running.
This entire setting with the mill, the river, and the bridge is a special place to many people for various reasons.
Well, I've spent a lot of time at War Eagle. I've painted the painting of the mill from under the bridge and come here to eat quite a bit. Been in the War Eagle Fair 1 year. And we made a big life decision on the bridge last year that we're going to start a publishing company, and then we came back to commemorate that we'd actually published a book through the year. And so it's just kind of a special place for us.
Congratulations.
And they have the best pecan cobbler in the world. It's like liquid pecan pie on a biscuit.
Which brings us to the Bean Palace restaurant on the mill's 3rd floor. By all means, before leaving, you've got to try at least one of the dishes, especially the beans and cornbread. Definitely stick to your ribs, home cooking. Mighty fine. War Eagle Mill. In the 21st century, we all need to visit a place like this.
It's peaceful. It just has a nice feeling here that's pretty indescribable.
Back when the last railroad spike was hammered into the Transcontinental Railroad, a dream came true for many a folk. Finally, the East Coast was connected to the West Coast, and the golden age of railway travel was born with the Iron Horse. And then later, to actually dine on the rails was a truly wonderful experience. And that is what lives on here at the Eureka Springs and North Arkansas Railway. It was in 1882 when the original Eureka Springs Railway was chartered, extending from Seligman, Missouri to Eureka Springs. Back then, the train brought tourists down from Missouri to enjoy the so-called healing springs in Eureka Springs. The current depot is the second one that was built here in 1913 and where tourists still come from all over to experience that golden era of passenger trains, after the red carpet is rolled out.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is the first call for the Eureka dining car. Please have your boarding passes ready as you board. All aboard!
The Eureka Springs and North Arkansas Railway Company operates a regular excursion train, a lunch train, and the all-popular dinner train, where you have your choice of chef's prime rib, the chicken Eurekan, a baked chicken breast, or the rainbow trout almondine. For starters, there's the chef's special soup and salad. be like Rachel Ray. Is that her name? Rachel Ray?
Yeah.
Delish, delish. Can't wait for the prime rib. This is perfect way to celebrate an anniversary, I guess.
Yeah. We've been in Eureka Springs a couple of days now and just had fabulous time. And train ride was I mean, we're going to do a couple other train rides probably in our lifetime, but this one was really special. We liked it. 2 years. It's a big deal.
Well, happy anniversary and many more happy years.
Thank you.
It doesn't matter how many times you take this dinner train, each time is a different experience.
We've been here a little over 15 years, and so we've hit it from time to time, and it's just,
It's fun.
It's so unique. You know, I always talked about it like being in a restaurant. It's on a revolving restaurant on top of a hotel that goes and doesn't moves but doesn't go anywhere. That's sort of what this is, but it's so different. It's neat.
And we were on the very first one,
Yeah.
August the 13th, 1984.
Well, how about that?
I had prime rib. It was delicious then. It was delicious tonight. I don't think it gets any better than this. You know, got a great host here with Mrs. Dortch. You know, great train ride, great city. It's just a great experience every time we do it. Born and raised in Eureka Springs, and it's one of the nicer things of Eureka Springs, and we're glad the Dortch family brought it too.
Well, it really is. It kind of brings the golden age of train travel to people that maybe have never been on a train.
It does. It's a perfect fit for Eureka Springs. You know, a lot of towns it wouldn't be, but Eureka Springs is a perfect fit.
It's a unique opportunity. There aren't many places you can do it. I know one time I wanted to take my children on Amtrak, and I would have had to load them up at 2 o'clock in the morning in Kansas City to get on. And here you can come to Eureka Springs and let the kids ride a train almost any time.
And not mention, you know, the great food here.
Well, now if you do the dinner, that's even a step up. It really is delicious, and it's fun to do. You meet new friends on the dining car, and it's one of those experiences you can't have very many places. So it's a treasure. It's a treasure among the attractions of Eureka Springs, and it's a treasure among the attractions of Arkansas, as you well know.
Mm-hmm. This railroad treasure was brought to Eureka Springs from Scott in 1981 by the late Robert Dortch Jr. and his wife Mary Jane, who is the hostess on the train.
It's a thing of the past, really. You stop and think how far you have to go to ride a train or for transportation. And of course, I was telling somebody about World War II when the troop trains came through Springdale, where I live, and we'd all go see the troops at night, and they came through every night. And my dad was manager of Welch Grape Juice Company and made all of those tons of orange marmalade that they shipped out to the Army. So we were there almost every night to see the troop trains. And then they vanished just about all the small towns.
Well, it's wonderful that you're still continuing this in Eureka, and especially on this dining excursion, that wonderful food.
It's quite a bit to eat, isn't it? It's too much for me, but some people eat it all, and they do seem to appreciate it. We've been real fortunate with our cooks and waitresses, and everybody gets into the swing of things, and they do a good job because they're interested.
And they do an especially good job with dessert, Flaming Baked Alaska, introduced, of course, in the shape of a locomotive.
What a wonderful experience. The train is just absolutely beautiful. This just brings some history back for many people who have never been able to experience this before, and to see all the detail and all that's in here, and just the history of how things used to be back in the past. And it's a beautiful experience, and the food was just incredible to top it all off, and along with the atmosphere.
So come and experience for yourself the way America once traveled and dined on the rails. There are many ways to explore the Mississippi Delta region. An excellent way is to take a drive along the Great River Road National Scenic Byway, which is marked by these green and white highway signs with the steamboat's pilot wheel. This is an excellent way to not only experience the lifestyles along the way, but the different landscapes as well. The Great River Road National Scenic Byway actually begins at Old Man River's source in the upper section of Minnesota. It then spans 2,070 miles all the way down to the lower section of Mississippi, incorporating riverside roads throughout each border state. The route in Arkansas begins in Blytheville and extends for 362 miles down to Eudora. This entire byway allows travelers a wonderful experience to enjoy both the mighty river and its legacy of shaping landscapes and lives along its path. Throughout much of its length in Arkansas, the Great River Road includes agricultural lands, passing by remnants of original wetlands, and penetrating woodlands, such as the St. Francis National Forest southeast of Marianna. We picked up the route just south of Marianna along Highway 44, taking us into the St. Francis National Forest, with the first attraction being Bear Creek Lake. This 625-acre lake with its 30 miles of shoreline offers a wonderful outdoor experience, especially with all the fall colors. Here you have the opportunity to catch bass, crappie, brim, or catfish, or just enjoy the scenery.
So this is one of the smallest national forests in the United States, and we only have 6 employees. And I started a group around 12 years ago called the Friends of the St. Francis to help do some upkeep and maintenance and repair work around the recreational areas and the wildlife food plots that we have. People have donated money and seed, time and labor to do all kinds of things out here, from new picnic tables to new grills, seed for the food plots. We get the state prisoners from the East Arkansas Regional Unit at Bricky's out. The Friends pay for their lunches, and they come out and do a lot of cleanup a couple of times a year.
Well, that's a neat area. Folks passing through here may want to just take a couple hours at least.
Well, it's a great place to bring your family and have some new memories with your kids. Have a picnic, go fishing. It's just a beautiful area to get out and enjoy the flora and fauna, as they say. We have the beautiful fall foliage. We have the Great River Road and the Crowley's Ridge Scenic Byway. As you see behind me, there are beautiful leaves changing. All the different types of trees on this national forest that do not normally grow together, which they say is partly the reason from the Mississippi River changing course.
An excellent way to observe all the different hardwoods that this national forest has to offer is to take the Bear Creek Lake Nature Trail. Along this 1-mile hike, you'll actually encounter 18 different varieties of hardwood trees, which in itself is quite rare. Getting back on the Great River Road, it'll turn into gravel along Phillips County Road 239 as you continue to take it through the St. Francis National Forest. Eventually, you'll reach Helena. In Helena, the gravel road turns to brick, and with the antebellum and Victorian homes, you'll be amazed at the picture postcard perfect scenes that this river town has to offer. So take a weekend and take a drive for yourself along the Great River Road National Scenic Byway and experience the Mississippi River and the Delta unlike in any other way. Wintertime in the natural estate definitely turns into a picture-perfect postcard. And one of my favorite places to go during this time of the year is Mount Magazine in West Arkansas, the highest point in the state at 2,753 feet. Along Mount Magazine Scenic Byway, there are several overlooks such as this that'll absolutely take your breath away. So let's go for the drive and the views. Mount Magazine Scenic Byway is the designated 25 miles of State Highway 309 that is within the Ozark National Forest between the towns of Paris to the north and Havana to the south. Mount Magazine is actually the tallest mountain between the Rockies and the Appalachians. In fact, up here, it's almost like being in the Rockies, especially in the wintertime. On a clear day, you can literally see for hundreds of miles. Being up this high at more than 2,750 feet, Mount Magazine actually has its own climate. The average temperature is usually 10 to 15 degrees cooler than in the valley below, which means it's not unusual for the mountaintop to get snow while the rest of the state may not get anything.
Mount Magazine, being the highest mountain in Arkansas, of course has some really extreme conditions during the winter time, and sometimes it can be just downright beautiful in all aspects, and it can be a little treacherous as well. But I actually love hiking out here on Mount Magazine during the winter time because you see so much more terrain and rock structures and everything, and various kinds of ice.
Don described to us the various types of ice that can occur on Mount Magazine.
Right now we're getting some sleet. Everybody's familiar with that, and there's a little snow mixed with that. We also get a lot of what we call hoarfrost, which is frozen fog. And that can be really beautiful when all the trees are just coated with a white glaze. And of course we'll get rime ice, which is frozen rain, and it's not quite as pretty, and that's a little more treacherous. But sometimes we get hoarfrost on top of rime ice, and I call that popcornized, 'cause it looks like popcorn all over the trees.
I guess when you're going along the scenic byway up here, of course, you got the various overlooks, and this view right here, I mean, it's just, just awe-inspiring.
Yeah, and there's places on the mountain that people don't go to because they're a little far to walk, and this one's, the trail that leads out here is about a mile. And during a really cold weather like this, I don't expect everybody to want to do it. This is not for wimps. This is for those people who really want to experience mountain magazine. But there are some fantastic scenic sites like this one here. We call it Lorry Falls because it's short and it's got a lot of potential energy, and of course it's beautiful.
And you named it after your wife.
Right.
It's a special place here any time of the year.
It sure is.
But especially in this frozen winter wonderland, for a lack of, better words to describe it. If you do decide to come up to the mountaintop during the winter, have no fear, just in case you do get terribly snowed in. One of the premier lodges in the country happens to be on this mountain. Or if you prefer, you can stay in one of the 13 fully equipped cabins. Either way, your stay high atop Mount Magazine and taking the drive along the scenic byway will last you a lifetime. Lost Valley near Ponca is number 5 on our list. Located in the upper portion of the Buffalo National River Wilderness region, this area was visited in 1945 by a National Geographic photographer and then Arkansas publicity director Bud Green. Green is actually the one who named this area Lost Valley because of its extreme remoteness. What you'll find here are plenty of waterfalls, a Native American bluff shelter, and a cave at the end of the trail which you can also explore. It's about a 2-mile round-trip hike, so let's go. Even though the Garden of Eden was supposedly located in the Middle East, it could have very well been here. Lost Valley is located 1 mile south of Ponca off Highway 43. It's not really a valley, but more of a ravine or gorge. It's not really lost either, but it is tucked away in the Buffalo National River region, which makes it a part of the national park system, and rightfully so. This unique area needs to be protected for future generations. Hiking along Clark Creek, you'll first come upon a small waterfall flowing from underneath the natural bridge. It's difficult to imagine how throughout the ages the stream has managed to cut through about 50 feet of limestone to create this, a most impressive sight. If you make this hike during the springtime, which is highly recommended because that's when all the waterfalls will be running at their peak, and also when all the really neat wildflowers will be out, such as the wild columbine. Farther up the trail, you'll eventually reach the massive Native American bluff shelter known as Cobb Cave because of all the ancient corn cobs that were unearthed here, left by the Native Americans 1,000 to 2,000 years ago. It's difficult to portray on video the enormous size of this shelter. 150 feet deep, 50 feet high, and 260 feet from end to end. Not quite the size of a football field, but close to it. It's interesting that during the late 1800s, this served as a Sunday meeting place with all-day singing. After all, the shelter does form the perfect band shell. Past Cobb Cave, you'll then come to what is probably the highlight of this entire hike, Eden Falls. This magnificent three-tier waterfall is one of the reasons this area is often described as like taking a trip into paradise. If you continue the hike up from Eden Falls, you'll reach Eden Falls Cave, which also makes for quite a neat little side venture. But if you do plan on entering this cave, bring along multiple sources of light in case one or two fail. And please, try not to disturb the residents inside sleeping. Lost Valley. Explore and experience it for yourself. I've always said the beauty of the Ozarks is just as breathtaking underneath as it is on top, and one of the premier wild cave excursions to take is here at Blanchard Springs Caverns. If you like it wild and awesome, then come along with us. At first, you may ask yourself, what am I getting myself into? But then, as you go farther and farther along, you won't regret it.
A lot of people don't realize what they're getting into at first. They think the gear's pretty cool and everything. But once you get started, by the end, I've never heard anybody say they haven't had a good time. It was just challenging enough. Yeah. We squeeze you through a bunch of holes and let you walk on ledges. A little bit of everything.
Well, what was your first reaction when you came through here?
My very first time? Yeah. I was scared with the first Grand Canyon because this is the first time I'd ever done any wild caving was at Blanchard Springs, and I guess like 3 years ago. And then once I started, I fell in love with it. So I love it every time I come down. Though it's different every time.
I guess different is the word. As far as it's like a I always tell people it's like going to an alien world without leaving Earth.
It is, and no, that's what everyone ends up coming down and loving it because it's totally different. I mean, there's no sunlight, there's nothing down here.
An average 250 people a year participate in this wild cave tour at Blanchard. You must be at least 10 years old and in good physical shape because it's not exactly an easy tour.
You need to make your own decision. Just, are you fit enough to come? We'll get you through. We can kind of customize the tour to match how the group's moving. The different routes we need to take. But just be aware, it's definitely not a cakewalk. It's nothing. It's not like the concrete trail tours. You're doing a lot of really strenuous stuff.
start with your left knee pad and grab those and just kind of pull yourself up. There we go. And then just stay real low once you get up here.
I guess I was a golf guy, not paying attention.
I meet a lot of really cool people. Me and Tanner were both in school, and so I actually met my landlord, who was for my apartment on the Wild Cave tour, so down here. And we meet people, and a lot of them stay in touch. Keep coming back again. One of the guys on the tour today, it's his second trip back. But people have a lot of cool stories, come from a lot of different places.
The first time I came through was when I was 15 years old, and I came with my little brother, and I remember just everything about it. I knew from right then I wanted to come back, and here I am working for the Forest Service and getting to go through a few times a week at least. And like Hannah was saying, it's different every time you come down. I've been now about 45 trips, made about 45 trips in here, and it's different every time. It's something new and neat, different every time.
Well, there's salamanders here, there's bats, crickets.
We have actually about 81 different species of organisms down here. And chances are you won't see one of them. I mean, we've seen crickets already, some salamanders and some bats. But it seems like the smaller the animal, the longer the name. And I couldn't name all 81 for sure.
Well, as we were saying earlier, not exactly a cakewalk. Little tight squeeze, nothing to it.
I think it's been a fantastic experience so far. It's been a little bit tougher than I thought it would be.
There's a few tricky spots, a few tight spots, but
a few tight spots.
Yeah.
It's been a great time so far.
Experience of a lifetime, right?
It is definitely something I've never done, and I like to do as many adventurous things as I can within reason for my age. But yeah, it's been an adventure.
I'm sure glad I had knee surgery a week ago.
I've been having a blast. I've enjoyed it tremendously.
Few spots there that were kind of, what do you call, kind of...
Hairy, scary. Just one for me. Made me nervous.
But all in all, I mean, you got to say, it's a wonderful experience.
Fantastic. I enjoyed it. And I recommend it.
And all you're going to do is shuffle your feet as you make your way down. Okay? You got it?
Am I going to like this any more than that ledge?
Yeah, you'll love it.
Okay.
And that you will. The Blanchard Springs Caverns Wild Cave Tour. A once-in-a-lifetime experience. Cedar Falls here at Pettigene Mountain State Park near Morrilton is probably the most photographed and the most visited waterfall in the entire state. It's about a 2-mile round-trip hike, takes a couple hours, and the difficulty rating is moderate to hard. So, let's have at it. The Cedar Falls trailhead is actually behind Mather Lodge, following a pathway down to the left and eventually leading down the hillside. The first half mile of the trail descends more than 200 feet down steps which were cut from the rock by the Civilian Conservation Corps when they built this, the first state park in Arkansas from 1933 to 1941. The CCC was designed by President Franklin D. Roosevelt to put men to work during the Great Depression. Their mission was in preservation and conservation of our natural resource areas throughout the country. What they actually accomplished was indeed phenomenal. All the work was done by hand with sheer brute force. Power tools and heavy equipment were scarce and in most cases non-existent. So as a result of the Great Depression and the CCC's labor, many of our national and state parks came into being. In fact, much of the CCC's work still stands and is in use to this day. When the CCC built something, they built it to last. Anyway, back to our hike. When you finally make the descent down to the bottom of Cedar Creek Canyon, you'll then cross Cedar Creek by way of a footbridge. Then, on the other side, the trail will lead you along beautiful Cedar Creek for another half mile or so, and eventually you'll start to hear the roar of Cedar Falls, providing you make the hike in the springtime, which is the best time to really experience Cedar Falls and all of its full running glory. The sight is so spectacular here that I don't care how many times you make this hike, each time you won't want to leave. You'll just want to sit and take it all in. My suggestion if you make this hike is to pack a sack lunch. And if the weather is hot, take plenty of water. And by all means, bring a camera. Sitting and soaking it all in is fine, but you'll also want to have some lasting pictures or video. By the way, more than 300,000 people from all over make this hike to Cedar Falls at Pettigene Mountain State Park every year, because it truly is almost like being in Hawaii without leaving the country. My number 2 spot is a hiking trail known as the Goat Trail, which meanders along 500-foot-tall Big Bluff in the upper portion of the Buffalo National River. And this actually comes in as a tie with my number 1 pick, which is also in the same general area. And if you want any more spectacular sights than these, well, you just have to go to the Rockies. Come along with us and we'll show you what we're talking about. To reach the Goat Trail, you first have to start at the Center Point trailhead north of Ponca. After a 2.7-mile hike, you'll then veer off to the right onto a smaller trail, which will take you to Big Bluff. The views from Big Bluff overlooking the Buffalo National River are just absolutely stunning. Joining us on the hike is Rick Davidson with the Buffalo Outdoor Center in Ponca. Well, Rick, you're one of the fortunate ones that you actually grew up in these parts of the country.
Yes, sir, I did, and love every bit of it. Living here in the Ozarks, the way I get to live here is actually a reward. A lot of people take for granted that it's lived here for many years. But as I grew up here and then moved away, came back after many years, I realized really what I had left. The river here itself has got a lot of history in itself, and again, just being able to live in these Ozark Mountains is actually a reward. Every day when I wake up in the morning, the sun rising over the mountains is unbelievable and hard to beat. So yes, I enjoy exactly where I live.
Now you were telling me, like hiking along the goat trail, you're finally kind of realizing where you lived.
Yes, definitely. Again, the goat trail, to a lot of people travel from many miles from around states wide actually to come here and to look at the goat trail and to be able to walk up on it and to be able to get up here is actually like a kid reminiscing of playing. This is a big playground for me. So again, being here is a reward actually, and really love it.
Well, I guess at one time, goats did actually go across this trail.
Yes, there was an old guy, his name was William Parker. In the old days, he ran goats over in this area, and they would come along this trail, and that's how it got its name, was William Parker. And surrounding people that actually knew William said that this was going to be called the goat trail because of his goats that would come out on this point and walk along the edge of the bluff. So that's how the goat trail actually got its name. Or Big Bluff. It's got the two different names because a lot of people call it Big Bluff because of the 500-foot on the incline of it. So yeah, this is named the Goat Trail because of William mainly. So William Parker was one of the guys that ran the goats in this area.
I guess you have a lot of people, those that come to the Buffalo Outdoor Center to float the river, and those that come here for the hiking opportunities.
Yeah, there is some people that'll get on the river and they actually will take a 10-day canoe trip or a 10-day hiking trip. So, the best trips actually though aren't necessarily in miles and distance. It's actually being able to cover a short distance and be able to explore and look at things like this that a lot of people will miss because they're in a hurry to cover the miles.
Along with the breathtaking views, you'll also encounter some unusual cypress trees on the face cliffs, which are estimated to be centuries old.
The trees, they grow, if you'll notice, they're really twisted. They are centuries old. How many centuries is all up to the scientists, we don't really know, but they actually take a long time because of the amount of water and dirt that they have for nutrition is very little. So therefore, it takes a long time for a tree this size to be able to grow in height and be able to really even make it where the tree is not going to die off and actually fall off. If you look a little bit lower, you can actually see that part of it is dying off, and it's because it doesn't have as much nutrition. So yes, it's kind of amazing to know that a tree that size would be able to grow out of a small crevice. And that in itself is an amazing story.
And it's an amazing hike along this, the popular goat trail on Big Bluff in the upper portion of the Buffalo National River. My all-time #1 favorite spot in the natural state is Hemmed-In Hollow Falls in the upper portion of the Buffalo National River. At 204 feet, it's the tallest waterfall in mid-America. There are two routes you can take to get to Hemden Hollow Falls, the high road or the low road by way of the Buffalo National River. Being the adventuresome type, we opted for the high road and the more grueling with Park Ranger Linda Bishop by taking the trail that leads out from the Compton Trailhead near Compton. It'll take you about several hours at a leisurely pace to eventually reach the falls, but once you do, you'll be rewarded with one of the more magnificent sights in Middle America.
And it is very unique. It's a very special place. Not just the river and the water itself, but these box canyons that lead to some beautiful waterfalls and rock formations. And today, sitting at the base of Hemden Hollow, we know that we are sitting at the base of the highest waterfall between the Appalachians and Rocky Mountains. So in all mid-America, this is the highest waterfall. And it's what we call a wet weather waterfall, which means at different times of the year, there will be a massive, beautiful, long, 200-foot high waterfall, which in other times of the year when the rains quit, then the waterfall quits too. So as a free-flowing wet weather waterfall, we know that it can vary at different times of the year. But today I think we've caught it at a beautiful time of the year. Beautiful spray of water coming over the bluff line. And it's just especially beautiful today with all the different greens and the trees surrounding us. And today we chose to hike to Hemden Hollow by taking the steepest trail and the biggest challenge of all. We chose to start our hike at the Compton Trailhead. And for folks that are coming out and wanting to see Hemden Hollow, they do need to check ahead of time and talk to us a little bit about the degree of difficulty for the trail they're choosing to get to this point. But as I said, we did choose the highest, most strenuous challenge trail today to get to this point, and we've hiked about 2.5 miles to get to where we are right now. And we have started out in elevation at a little over 2,000 feet, and now we're down to about 1,000 feet. So we've dropped in elevation 1,000 feet, and know that at this point when we turn around and we're going to head back to that trailhead, we have a definite challenge ahead of us, because we're going to have to go back up. That 1,000-foot loss is our gain now as we go back up the trail. But a lot of folks that reach this point actually are canoeing, and even today, folks that are launching their canoe at Ponca or Steel Creek, they're canoeing downriver, and there is a big pull-off where they are actually pulled off onto a gravel bar, and then they can hike up to this point, which would just be a 1-mile hike.
If you do decide to make the 5-mile round-trip hike to Hemden Hollow instead of floating the river, make sure you are ready for it.
They want to prepare and plan ahead, and at the minimum, some good hiking boots, and I always recommend, have a backpack with plenty of drinking water, some snacks. It's a good idea to have a map, and certainly you should have somebody with you when you go hiking, and let other folks know where you're going to be that day and about when to expect you back and when they should be hearing from you. But it's just a fantastic area, and we have many, many miles of trails to choose from. We're very proud of our trail system. Majority of our trails have been built since I arrived here in the 80s. Have been built by volunteers, so we are especially proud of our trail system, and we always want to thank those volunteers, because once a person comes out and hikes in the Buffalo River Valley area, they're going to see what a challenge it is not only to hike it, but then we'll have the appreciation of what the volunteers sacrifice to give of their time to build the trail system that we have here.
So plan to visit one of the premier spots in Arkansas, Hemden Hollow Falls in the upper portion of the Buffalo National River during the wet weather season, and you'll experience it at its finest, such as captured in this painting by outdoor artist Ernie Kilman.